It's time for book talkin'. Today's book talkin' topic is buzzwords and deal breakers. This is actually a video response to Misty of Book Rat Misty. I will link her video down where the links go. And when I saw her video, I freaked out a little bit in like a the call is coming from inside the house kind of way, except the house in this case was my brain, because I had already been planning on talking about this exact thing. But you know what? We can talk about the deep psychic connection that I have with Misty some other time. Right now, we gotta talk about buzzwords and deal breakers. So this is pretty simple. It's just stuff that when you hear it makes you really want to read a book or really not want to read a book. And I'm really excited about this, and I hope a lot of people do this because A, I think it's really interesting to find out what these are for everybody, and B, I think it's really helpful for people to do this, like on a personal level for themselves, because if you know what you like and you don't like, then it's much easier for you to read books that you love and not read books that you're not going to love. I'm actually going to start with deal breakers because I want to end the video on a positive note. I have my lists in a text edit document over here, so if I look that direction, that's why. I'm not super strict about my deal breakers. Like generally, if someone is like, yeah, this isn't really my thing either, but I really liked this particular book, then I will go ahead and read it. First up for deal breakers is Cancer. I already talked about this in my my book review of The Fault in Our Stars, so I'm only gonna like briefly touch on it here. But yeah, I really hate Cancer books. They just always seem to sink into unearned sentimentality, which is another thing that I could put on this list. Unearned sentimentality. Don't care for that. Another thing is second person tense. I find this really, really annoying. This is probably just my fiercely independent streak right here. I'll just be reading along and then the book will be like, you feel sad. And I'll be like, don't tell me how I feel. You don't even know me. Next is fairies, but really just modern fairies. Like old school fairies, I'm totally into, but like fairies in like a modern urban setting, I can't do it. Like I read Tithe by Holly Black and I really wasn't into it, and I know it wasn't because it was a bad book. It was just because of the fairies, because all the parts that weren't about fairies I really liked. Female YA protagonists with really low self-esteem. This one just bums me out really bad. Stories that are from the perspective of children under the age of 11. I think this is a result of To Kill a Mockingbird, because I love To Kill a Mockingbird, and most child narrators are no Scout Finch. Animal deaths. Again, just really bums me out. Romances where people fall in love because they are meant to be, but now that I think about it, I'm just really uncomfortable with destiny in general. I'm a big believer in choices and free will. I like prophecies though, because those have the potential to be subverted prophecies, which is a trope that I really like. And my last one is books with really unappealing covers. And by that I don't necessarily mean ugly covers, although that certainly does not help. I mean that book covers are meant to convey something about the book itself. Like this book is obviously a zany comedy story, and clearly this one is epic and a little bit dark and probably about the conflict between good and evil. And this one is about a lady pirate. And there are some covers that are just in a style that do not appeal to me. They promise things that I do not want to read. And this is probably the one that I am most lenient about, because if enough people tell me, no, it's not like that, it's good, I will definitely read it. Like, I was really reluctant to read Sarah Dessen for the longest time because her covers just screamed to me, do you enjoy Lifetime original movies unironically? Have I got a book for you? But then the internet was like, no, seriously, Sarah Dessen's really awesome. And so I read this, and true facts. Sarah Dessen is awesome. So yeah, that's definitely the one I'm most lenient about. Okay, now we get to talk about buzzwords. Number one with a bullet is time travel. I will seriously read or watch anything that involves time travel. I think this is a combination of the fact that I love history and I love non-linear storytelling. It could also just stem from my childhood love of A Wrinkle in Time. I love stories about lavishly wealthy people who are having emotional or existential crises. I think this one we can pretty firmly blame on The Great Gatsby. I love historical fiction, particularly stories set in the 1920s and the 1960s. I also really love the Victorian era, but I am understandably way more picky about that because there's just so much Victorian era historical fiction. Like, oh my god, I think 75% of historical fiction is set in the Victorian era. I have an incredibly perverse love for really unlikable characters. You give me a horrible character and I will just be sitting there going, oh my god, you're so awful, I just want to smush your face. The caveat to this being, the narrative has to recognize how terrible the character is. Like when a character who constantly does really shitty things is positioned as an unblemished hero, then I'm like, nope, shut it down. I love incredibly complex, like mind-bendy plots. I think I just take a great deal of satisfaction out of having to work for things. Oh, angry teenage girls, whose anger is taken seriously by the narrative. I like this because I feel like it's really rare in fiction and not particularly rare in real life. That's one of the reasons that I loved Hazel from The Fault in Our Stars so much, because she was in an incredibly shitty situation and she was allowed to be like, you know what, yeah, this really sucks. I also love really intense friendships and well-written friendships between two or more female characters and found families. I like a lot of friendship-related tropes. I think this stems from an irritation that I have concerning romantic love, which don't get me wrong, I like a good romance, but I get really frustrated with this attitude that romantic love is the only kind of love. So given the choice, I would much rather read about platonic or familial love than romantic love. Last thing I'm going to talk about is anything that plays around with the format of its medium. There's a pretty wide variety of ways that books can do this. There's literary devices like breaking the fourth wall. There's like forming the words on the page into shapes like Shel Silverstein did a lot. And then there's stuff like The Princess Bride, which is a fake abridgment. It's an abridgment of a book that's not real. David Levithan actually likes to do this a lot. Like his chapters in Will Grayson are entirely in lowercase to reflect the headspace of the character who's writing it. He wrote The Lover's Dictionary, which is a novel told entirely in dictionary entries. I don't know, I just really like this for some reason. I think I just appreciate when authors try to expand what a book can be. Oh man, I've recorded like twice as much footage as I normally do for videos, so I have a feeling this is gonna be really long. So thank you for sticking with it, and I would love if more people did this, so record your video, leave it as a video response to Misty's video. There will be a link down there. I'm gonna get out of here, but I will see you soon. Bye.